So, the thing from 1951 was a kind of comical, sarcastic, subtle hint with Cold War that was both funny, amusing, and very ahead of its time for 1951. But what about 30 years later, when the John Carpenter's The Thing comes in? And oh boy, horror master John Carpenter delivers a masterful exercise in claustrophobic suspense with elaborate special effects that set a high standard for films that followed. TV Guide. Kurt Russell's iconic, intense performance drives this chilling version of the classic The Thing. In the winter of 1982, a 12-man research team at a remote Antarctic research station discovers an alien buried in the snow for over 100,000 years. Soon unfrozen, the form-changing alien wreaks havoc, creates terror, and becomes one of them. Jeez, oh, Pete's. I mean, just the fact that they're in this cold, desolate South Pole, it's just... This is just an atmospheric, creepy, disturbing film. Period. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, when you got these 12 men, and somehow this creature starts to assimilate itself, yeah. It turns out that there were a bunch of Norwegians that were studying this thing after they found it encased in ice for over 100,000 years. And apparently it must have gone bonkers over at the Norwegian station because there's this one guy who is trying to snipe a dog, who's trying to bill a dog, an adorable husky, and eventually reaches the station, and they manage to subdue him. And what goes on next is discovery. The doctor who's starting to go a little bit paranoid, and then eventually mistrust and paranoia that goes on amongst the others. And of course, lots of gore and special effects. I mean, what can I say about this movie? It's just disturbing. It's a disturbing, minimalistic movie that, of course, takes some influence. That just just the dark lighting, the dark lighting. There's some light here and there, but then it just gets creepier and darker, like low camera angles, high camera angles, and everything else, and just all the score and special effects make this for a true landmark of a movie that John Carpenter knew what he was doing. Along with Kurt Russell, along with David Keith, and I was very surprised by this. Wilford Brimley, before he said diabetes, or I'm in the firm. Need to check that one out, but just even the lack of music, and if there is a theremin or a synthesizer, just meant to give this creepy, otherworldly feel to it. And again, John himself has composed many soundtracks like that. Even Sykes Metallica's was a Load and Reload as his favorite album. So yeah, I'm just disturbed by. This is just a disturbing movie. The fact that just the blood is there. It's not like it's just blood for shock effect. It's there to determine, because this creature can assimilate with cells and everything else, and they do think of some creative ways of how to determine who's been infected by doing a little blood serum test. And it just how it's smart enough to go into, they're going to do a whole unit test. It manages to break into storage and just drains everything. I'm like, yeah, this is a smart replicative creature. It's not like it's going to be just listen, I love James Arness's when he portrayed The Thing, but this is just something else. This is, I've heard, has something to do with like maybe the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s, and I could possibly see that. Is like, you look at thematic analysis of the thing. It's like, of course, you know, you got the paranoia, the mistrust of like, who could be one, who could be the other. I've heard this also had to do with like the Red Scare going on because a Russian could have infiltrated and assimilate into American society, and you could, you like a sleeper agent, if you will, seen as that one episode of Family Guy. But he had a review of it anyway. It's just, yeah. Spies reminiscent of us, kind of like that. Think like a sleeper agent, and just, I don't know. It just like, hey, it's like here's his male, like here's the male who's trying to say, am I the one who's the who is the thing, or am I just a normal everyday being, and that person doesn't even know? That's scary as well. Just, I mean, some scenes alone, like when the Norwegian is trying to track down the dog, I'm like, who would do that to an adorable husky? And the husky was apparently very well trained. Didn't look at the camera. I forgot whose name it was, but when it goes and just mutilates the other dogs, ugh. And then of course there's Anthony Wilford Brimley's scene where he goes a little crazy with the axe. He's starting to grow paranoid because of the infection, because it could be going around and infecting people within roughly 3.5 years, 27,000 hours. Wow. Just get to see him, one, be calm, two, be the professional when examining the body, and three, just going absolutely ludicrous with the axe, you know? I mean, that's just like, jeez, oh Pete's. So, and then when they're trying to investigate a one person who was infected, some person puts his hands down, comes the thing is alive, and like from here on down, no hands. So that was just a particular disturbance. I mean, this thing is smart, you know. It's like it shuts off the generator. It knows how to survive, and the crew is just like, dang. Kurt Russell grew his hair out for a year. There's a backstory of him being like a Vietnam survivor, and so it's like definitely one of his standout movies. Thematically, and you know, has to deal with all that, and of course the works of H.P. Lovecraft, and especially what was that? At the Mountains of Madness. I have read that. It's 100 pages long. Giant penguins. It just translates well. And also for another one of Carpenter's movie, he did At the Mountain of Madness. Carpenter did At the Mouth of Madness. Both are fantastic, but this one just solidified it. So yeah, I mean, if you want a particularly disturbing movie for gorehounds, especially with the dog, the ending, you want like a disturbing movie. But then again, some people may be turned off by the excessive levels of blood, you know, by the not really stock characters, but you know, there's not enough development or whatever. I think that there's enough. You know, it's like the plot is kind of light, but again, it's made up with atmosphere, you know. That's what this movie is. That's why I highly recommend that you watch The Thing.